Hey, there's Joe Sonical Disruptive. How are you? I'm pretty good. Um, Crazy week, but I'm pretty good. Now, I've been away from home for pretty much the entire week as well, getting some work done. And so that's why you haven't seen me and I haven't put anything up in a while because for some reason when I'm at a hotel, I always feel the quality of video that I do is normally so subpar that it's almost not worth doing. But the more I think about it, that's kind of funny. It's like an excuse because it's not like my videos are so high quality and so professional that I can't even budge on the quality a little bit, and I can't settle for subpar conditions. Yeah, I probably can, and that's probably just an excuse because no matter where my videos are, my camera's not great, my audio's not great, and I'm not professional. So who cares, really, I suppose. Now, I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but it really doesn't look like we're going to be seeing proper live shows for quite a while. And that got me to thinking since we probably will be taking the summer off from live music, yeah, how much does that suck? An entire summer without going to shows? Maybe some small club things will open up, who knows? But yeah, it's going to be few and far between, I'm afraid. But it did get me to thinking. I was wondering what your favorite live shows of all time are. Which bands, where, whatever. I'm just curious if you want to comment and let me know kind of the rundown, what they are. And since I'm asking that of you, I will go first. You can throw your worst shows in there too. My worst show that I've seen, I think, is probably my first actual live concert that I went to out of my own choice. Now, it wasn't actually my choice. I went with my brother. He's the one who got the tickets. But I wasn't dreading it. It wasn't like, oh, I don't want to go to this. It was Bon Jovi, who I've never been a fan of. So that I was not that excited about. It was their big New Jersey. They were touring for that album. Had tons of hits. Again, wasn't a fan of them. Opening for them, I was excited though because it was Skid Row, and this was Skid Row. This was off from their debut record, which was pretty good, pretty heavy, and I enjoyed that album quite a bit. Live though, thing was a mess. And I don't think it was necessarily anything to do with the bands. I really don't. I think they played fine. The sound was horrible though. Just it was a big arena and our seats were way up, nosebleed, and the sound just bounced off from everything. It was horrible. You couldn't make out anything. I had no clue what either band was doing. I knew most of the songs, but I couldn't pick them out when they were playing them. It was crazy. It was like, what? I don't know any songs here because it was just reverberating all over the place. Just a horrible, terrible, disgustingly bad show from a sound quality point of view. Skid Row, already at that time, you could tell that it was the Young Bucks coming to take over because Sebastian Bach was a insane lunatic all over the stage, just like he was nuts. And from everything you hear about him, he is pretty nuts, but just manic, just fierce. And I think if their sound would have been better, it probably would have been a good show. But so that's my worst show that I've been to. What are my best shows? I'll give you one more show that I don't know if it's one of my worst shows I've seen or one of my favorite shows I've seen. This again would have been in the 92. I'm thinking this might have been 91, 92, or even 90. It was Yngwie J. Malmsteen at the time, my guitar god. Just loved Yngwie. I still love the earlier material. A unbelievably great technical guitar player who also plays with a lot of passion. I just wish he would change it up, you know, which he never will. That's why you love Yngwie, but it does get old for me, and it has got old, and so I am no longer a huge Yngwie fan. But anyway, I've seen him live the first and only time. His guitar playing was phenomenal. It was great. The mix was iffy, but not bad. The vocalist at the time was I'm blanking on his name. He did 2 records and a very good vocalist. It was for the Fire and Ice tour. It was a good show, but you could tell that Yngwie was just about ready to knock the singer down any chance he could. He was probably on his 3rd or 4th bottle of wine. I mean, he would have a bottle up on his amp and just drink half of it, go back and play. He was barely standing by the end of the night, and you could tell there was a lot of friction between he and the singer. I mean, he would, like, the singer would be singing and he would like stand right in front of him and play, like, and he would move with him almost. It was uncomfortable from that standpoint. It was amazing that Yngwie could drink that much and be stumbling and still be able to play phenomenally. That is impressive, but the show itself was subpar, I would say. Definitely. Now, let's get on with the good shows. I've been lucky. I've seen a lot of really good shows. Seen Rush twice. I've seen them for probably my favorite time. I seen them on the Vapor Trails tour. Just, this was after they came back. They were on hiatus for a number of years, quite a while, and they came back, and I was able to catch them on that tour, and it was so great to see them live again. That record, Vapor Trails, a lot of people do not like it. Personally, it's one of my favorite Rush albums of all time. I absolutely love that record. Seriously, it's one of my favorite Rush albums. So there you go. I also seen them for Roll the Bones, another album that a lot of people aren't crazy on, and another record that I think is really good. But that tour too, they were really on fire on that tour. So good. Such a great and phenomenal live band, and it is sad and it really sucks that we'll not be able to experience that again. That sucks. I was able to catch 2 shows this year, and both are on my list of top shows I've ever seen. I saw Opeth this year for the first time. It was on Valentine's Day, February 14th, I believe, and killer show. Really enjoyed that show. They were on point, and after being really immersed in their music for the last month previous to that, to see them live doing it was great. Love that show. The venue was fantastic. The whole experience of that show was great. I saw a show right before kind of the whole world was locked down, and this was on March 7th, I believe. So this was right before the cutoff, and it was Jeff Tate, formerly of Queensryche, and I've seen him tons. You know, I've seen Queensryche and I've seen Jeff Tate solo a bunch of times, and this time, this show was the best I've ever seen him. They were doing one of my favorite albums of all time, which is Rage for Order in its entirety. And then they did the full Empire record in its entirety. Two full records in their entirety. And, I mean, really great show. His voice was so good here. There was a little period of time where his voice appeared to be fading a little bit. A lot of people say that. And towards the end of the Queensryche days, there was a noticeable decline, I think, on some of the live shows you would watch for that Dedicated to Chaos tour, and the voice was not spot on any longer, not like it used to be. And so there was a few years, but recently, I'm serious, his voice is so strong. He was able to sing everything on Rage for Order perfectly, and that is a really hard record to sing. I mean, if you don't know the record, go check out Rage for Order. Great record, ahead of its time, eclectic, just different than anything else that was going on in '86. Very strong, but such a great show. I can't get over how great his whole band sounded. Phenomenal show. That is up on my list as well. Last time I seen Judas Priest was absolutely phenomenal. The guy is 68, I think, Rob Halford, and his voice was incredible this night. This would have been, I think, in 2019. I think that's when I would have seen him. And yeah, voice absolutely phenomenal. Killer show, killer set. Def Leppard. Yeah, I said it. This was, I seen them, I think it was for their Adrenalized. Is that their record? I think that was the record. Would have been 92, perhaps. I may be off on the year. It was the record right after their huge one. And incredible show. I mean, whatever you want to say about their music is fine. I think their first couple records are absolute hard rock fire. If you're into hard rock, these things were heavy, just guitar-oriented party music, and for what it was some of the best at that time. Once they started getting a little bit softer, a little bit more poppy, I started to check out a little bit. But there were still songs that I enjoyed all the way through their catalog. They still, once in a while, have something where I'm like, that's pretty good. I like it. It's not necessarily the music I love the most, because that's progressive rock, progressive metal. That's kind of my wheelhouse. That's what I enjoy most. But they put on just a killer live show. Phenomenal. Another band that I don't like at all. I really don't. I never enjoyed their music. Once in a while they'll have a song that is like, yeah, it's okay, but Kiss. I don't know. I think most of the people here are probably a little younger, but there may be some. I know there's a few that are my age and there's a few that are older, and they may hate me for saying this because Kiss was a huge influence, especially for guitar players growing up in that age. I think I missed it a little bit because I started it on their 80s catalog, which a lot of people will say is weaker than their early stuff. So maybe if I would have started with their Ace period, it may have been different, and I may have got into them and been influenced by them, but I never was. But I did see them live on the Revenge tour. This was non-makeup days even, and great live show. Still don't like the band, but it was a great live show. What else? A Big Wreck. I saw a Big Wreck in 2019 as well. I've seen them twice. 2019 show was absolutely phenomenal. It was in this teeny little place that maybe, it probably held 200 people, which is a shame. Go back and listen to that band and you will be blown away. Such good musicians, such great song writing skills, and the show was killer, 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 absolute fire. There's no doubt, and yeah, it was good. Another show I think that may surprise you, and again, this is the era I grew up in, so don't blame me, but and this lineup may sound like a nightmare to most people, and it was a absolute killer show. The opening band was Bullet Boys. I bet you don't know them. Look them up or don't. They actually had some cool material though. Their the Freak Show, and I forgot there was another record there. They really were kind of obscure, and they took music to different places in that genre. A couple of pretty underrated records. Then next up was Extreme. This was their Porno Graffiti tour, and they were incredible. That's why I went to the show for Extreme. I wanted to see Extreme, and I've seen them probably 4 times. Every time they put on a killer show. So those two bands, the headliner, I wasn't excited for at the time. I knew one of their songs, and it was fine, but I it was too it was just too poppy for me and too pretty or whatever. It was too silly lyrically. And that band was Winger. Yep. Winger, Winger, Winger. What a silly band. No, not a silly band. Phenomenal musicians. A great live show. Another band I've seen a number of times, and every time they bring it. Now, the first record had some decent material, but it also had some silly material, I admit. Their second record had In the Heart of the Young. They started to incorporate some progressive elements in a few of those songs. They still had the silly lyrical stuff on some of those songs and still had the party anthem-y things, but there was some songs in there that really started to stretch. And then they did Pole, and then everything that they've done recently is really good. Seriously. If you just relegate them to the crappy hair metal period and throw them on that garbage heap, you're doing yourself an injustice, because they have an immense amount of musical chops. So, yeah, there's another concert that was absolutely killer. What else? Rob Zombie. I've seen Rob Zombie a few times, and each time he brings it. Love or hate the music. There was a time where I enjoyed it quite a bit. That's been quite a few years ago though, but I'd go see him live definitely again, because it's a really, really good show. I seen Marilyn Manson with him as well. Wasn't impressed with Marilyn Manson show. I thought the voice was just not good at all. Musically, it was played well, but his singing was really bad, and that was unfortunate. There was a few things that he's done that I enjoyed. I've never been a huge fan though. So there you go. Korn. Great live show. Not my favorite band in the world. And again, there's a few songs that I enjoy from them. But live, they bring it. I've seen them maybe only once, but that show was killer. Slipknot, another band in that same kind of category, phenomenal show. That show, this was earlier, but it was kind of a show where you could just there felt like danger there. It Seeing them live, it was so chaotic that it felt a little dangerous, and that was very cool. And this was a small stage. This was a pretty small club, and that many people dressed up in costumes playing this chaotic music was very good. Very cool. Another band that I'm not in love with, the only time I kind of was in love with them was their very first record, which I think holds up good now and was very strong. Godsmack. Seen them on their very first tour for that debut record, and they put on a absolutely fantastic show. I gotta say, that show was truly energetic. There was so much energy there. There was a real cool vibe. Sully did this cool drum duel with the drummer. Great show. Great show. I've been to a lot of larger shows and just like, okay, fine. Nothing that kind of grabbed me though. These kind of the shows that grab me. And normally I'm a fan of the smaller venues. I like the performances. They're better in most cases, so maybe that's why. But there you go. There's a short list. Sorry for taking too much of your time. Let me know what you think. Let me know what your favorites are, and I'll try to upload a little more often. Sorry. Thank you very much for watching. See you.